This is sick. Like when they said casino, I was like, yeah, I've been to a few casinos. This is going to be fun. But what an unbelievable, I mean, just genuinely, I go to a lot of these things. Some of them are fucking dry. They're so fucking dry. It's unbelievable. But I can tell, just from, you can already tell with the atmosphere, this is going to be fun. So we've got two ways we can do this today. One of them is I go off this deck. I don't really feel like that's what's going to happen. I feel like we're going to use this deck as a suggestion, and we're just going to chat, right? So first thing I want to ask you guys, so if I ask you a question and then the slide comes up later, that's because I'm just ADHD, okay? So the first thing I want to ask you guys is, who is your hero? Turn to the person next to you or turn to the group of people near you, and I'll come and annoy you guys. Who's your hero? Go for it. Go, go, go. I'm coming down. Who's yours? You should never sit in the front, you know, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. Yours is?
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. Oh my God, I think I have, one of these is for her. No, not that one, it's this one, yes. So my mum's name is Maria Teresa Adams because we are Catholics, and not to start any kind of so why Mother Teresa?
Because she was an embodied conscience.
Oh my God.
Conscious.
Oh my, what's your name?
Christina.
Christina, okay. This is really awkward for Christina, by the way. She's like, please let this end. Okay, so if you work at a famous company, yes? What's the company called? Hewlett-Packard, I know it very well. You charge me so much money for those cartridges. Genius business model. Give the printer away. No, I'm kidding. HP. Oh, yeah, you Hewlett-Packard. Okay, interesting. What's your name? I'll come back. We'll come back to this, I promise. Okay, so just because you're there, who would your hero be? Oh, give me, in fact, no, don't tell me your hero. Tell me the community that you would consider yourself a part of when you're not at work. And don't pitch your startup idea.
So yeah, it's Simon Sinek, it's John Maxwell, these kind of leaders, because I like they are optimistic, empathic, and also realistic.
Beautiful.
And of course, I liked Steve Jobs.
You did like him, yes, past tense.
Yes.
You can still like him.
Yes,
He's
I like
just not with
his,
us anymore.
Legacy,
yes.
what he left.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so I'm assuming you don't know too many people here, but you don't know like all these people, right?
Not all these
Okay,
people.
so let's see. Is there anybody else that's into that stuff? Is anyone else into like books? Okay, we got one here, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you got a lot of friends in this room, right? You just maybe didn't know until now, right? Okay, so I'm absolutely, later on tonight, I'm supposed to DJ. I just got to warn you that I used to be a DJ. Because I'm from Essex, right, which is a place outside of London. Every single person in Essex is a failed DJ, right? So it's no big deal. But so my hero is a guy called Frankie Knuckles, right? And Frankie Knuckles was the guy he was gay and he was black and he lived in Chicago. And he basically started this night for gay black men. I'm not gay or black, but I admire this guy, right? And what happened was, at that time, the American right wing, and things haven't really changed that much, right? They desperately wanted to shut that thing down. So what they did was, they couldn't legally shut down gay events or black events. But you know what they did? They started to shut down the music that was played at those events, which was disco. So they literally had this campaign called Disco Sucks, right? And I'll show you this. Hang on, let's see if there he is, there's Frankie Knuckles. Disco Sucks. There was literally 40,000 people in the Dodgers Stadium campaigning, all white men, right? Angry white men that were pissed off because their wife was like, oh, I really love this sound. Right? And he's like, drinking his beer like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit like you don't like me, right? And so the American right wing literally started funding this movement called Disco Sucks. They would say to radio stations, we'll give you grants if you don't play disco. People literally gathered together to burn disco records like it was fucking Nazi Germany, right? And so what Frankie Knuckles did was that he went to Detroit and he thought, I have to find a way so every single Friday the police would turn up and they would shut down the event because it was disco music, right? So Frankie was like, and this is innovation, by the way. Innovation is when you're up against the wall and you're like, fuck, I need to outthink this problem, right? So he got this little drum machine, and it just made this little tinny little, right? And he started realizing that when the police arrived, in order to keep the beat of the dance floor so that people stayed on the dance floor and the music didn't stop, as soon as he got the word from the doorman, oh, fuck, police are here, he would start putting this drum machine over the top of the disco track in exact time, right? With the beat of the disco track. Then he would take the disco track out, so by the time the police got in the room, they just hear, it's not disco, right? It's just fucking noise, right? It's what we modernly call techno, right? And the sound of the police getting back in their cars going, the fuck, again? There's no disco there. Driving off, and Frankie Knuckles getting better and better at looping and bringing the record, the disco record, back in over the top of the boom, boom, boom. Because the venue that this was happening at was called the Bathhouse, it became known as house music. Right? So that's a story about why I think house music is amazing, or techno. And by the way, that's the beginning of house music and techno. Because the bit when he took the disco record out, when it had no organic elements whatsoever and it was just futurism, eventually he started fucking with that, and that became techno. So this one dude invented something that I personally am still, even though I'm 42 and having a midlife crisis, will not give up on, as you will see later. So anyway, here's the thing. Whatever weird shit you're into, whether it's leadership lessons from like big-hearted business leaders, or is anyone here into say Eastern mysticism or Buddhism or Hinduism or any of that stuff? Okay, that's you again. I love this. You're the central node of this network, right? Whatever the fuck you are into, you are not alone anymore. When you grew up and you were at school and you were into the thing that you were into, you'd be the only person that was into it. And maybe you had one mate who was like your sidekick that was also into it, right? Now you have the internet, which is an interconnected set of networks, and guess what? These networks are not demographic. In the actual internet, you cannot point to all the 35 to 42-year-old males. It's impossible. You can only point to all the 35 to 42-year-old males in the advertising systems that are artificially layered on top of the internet. So I'm going to refer to that advertising system on top of the internet as the onternet. You're not in the internet, you're just on it, right? And let me explain why every brand, every single person, every single one of us is fucking exhausted. The reason we are exhausted is because we are trying to build brands, develop new products, create innovation, anything, whatever we're trying to do, we are trying to do it, instead of doing it in the internet with people, we are doing it on the internet, interrupting people. And I promise you this, in fact, I will put 100,000 euros down on this, okay? If they'll book me again after all this swearing, I will come back next year and I'll do this for free. I'll do this for cost. I don't give a fuck, right? I'll do it for you just because you're sitting there, right? You might not want it, but I'm doing it for you. Okay, so we should build a case study that proves what happens when you stop trying to communicate in the internet by interrupting things and instead start inside the networks of the internet that are based on passion, like what you're into, like what my friend's into. I'm not sure how big the network for, although, no, there is a massive religious networks, right? There's nothing is niche anymore. So let's play a little game. You are in, I told you this was going to be random. Let's link you two, okay? Have you ever met before? No. Okay, welcome. Give me 3 truths about the brand that you're working with.
They're a big company.
Hang on. Big company.
They are working towards capturing
Yeah.
They are working towards capturing a big chunk of the AI industry.
Amazing. Looking to, yeah.
Yes. And they
What's
have
like, what's the product you're selling?
services.
Services.
For, computing, storage.
Computing storage.
Cloud
Okay.
services.
Why are you better? Like, why are you guys better than everyone else?
I guess it's
a hard one, by the way. I don't expect you to answer this perfectly.
Well, I don't know if I do it
Yeah, that's
very
okay.
good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think it's also the company strategy. It's how they invest in their people.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the procedures and...
How they invest in their people.
Yes.
Okay. Stop. What is the reason you love Simon Sinek? He's
Optimistic, authentic, and he's a great example as a leader.
Great example of the leader. Okay. Is it fair to say that there is a very tenuous... you can see I'm making this up off the top of my head, right? But the model I'm using isn't made up. I've won 37 Cannes Lions, 40-something Emmys, had an Oscar nomination just from this model, okay? So trust me, this fucking model works. And if an idiot with ADHD who's hungover can do that, you can do way better, okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to find one or two equity, what we would call in marketing, equity pillars. Truths about why your product or your service or your brand is unique. What makes your product or your service or your brand unique?
I have a good one.
Go on, sorry, this is fun, yeah.
It's actually continuous transformation.
Okay.
We always adapt.
Perfect.
And we compare with our competition and we try to do better. Even
Okay.
if they innovate first,
Yeah.
then we do it better.
Okay, cool. Do you hear that, yeah? So they're constantly transforming and they're investing in their people. Even though they're an AI company and they're trying to own this AI storage space, it's the human beings at the core of the company that she keeps coming back to, right? Now, I'm not here to tell you whether that's the right equity pillar or not. I don't give a fuck, right? If that's your equity pillar, that's your equity pillar. Now imagine, completely randomly sitting just on the other side over here is a network. You represent the network, but you're not the only one in it. Thank you. You're not the only one in it, right? How big is this network? Is it big? Like this, people like you that like that type of leadership stuff? Millions?
If we think all over the world, yes.
Millions
I suppose
of people.
millions, yeah.
So here's the thing, guys. We, all of us, take this the right way. We're all sitting in a fucking boardroom trying to find the mass market. And because we're trying to find the mass market, we are ignoring literally hundreds of thousands of massive markets. Do you see? This is the fucking curse of the modern boardroom. The boardroom sits, think about everything you do, no matter what you do, every piece of strategy in every boardroom that I walk into ever is, okay, tell me, who are you going after? Oh, Gen Z, right? Every fucking brand in the world is going, yeah, we need to get more Gen Z, we need to get more Gen Z. And when I was younger, it was millennials, right? And so can you see how every single brand in the world seeking purely just to communicate in the internet to a demographic that is such a shallow definition of human beings that it's a fucking joke? Do you see how that makes you exhausted? And can you see why if you're in marketing or product development or you're trying to build any brand whatsoever, you might be just literally banging your head against the wall and saying, I'm just going to retire, fuck this. And everywhere I've gone for the past 20 years, I've just heard people say, I'm so fucking tired, man. I'm so fucking tired. And you know why they're so tired? Because they're seeking to communicate at a group that doesn't even exist. Gen Z is a random 16-year birth window, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm a 42-year-old male. If I meet someone who's roughly the same age as me, roughly the same net worth, has roughly the same occupation, like lives in roughly the same area, I'm not like, oh my God, we are united, right? That's not what unites people. What unites people is the shit that they do when they're not at work. And because we are so fucked, we were handed this playbook, which was a suicide pact. It was a fucking suicide pact. And I'm not joking. I'm really not joking. I go from boardroom to conference, do about 100 of these a year. I go to the best and the worst. And I'm telling you now, when you go to the worst, these people are broken. They're fucking, I'm not joking, like, they're spiritually broken because they are pouring their heart and their soul into trying to communicate at a demographic in the internet, and it's never gonna work. And meanwhile, fuck me, yesterday, Netflix announced its budget for content for next year. $21 billion it's gonna spend. $21 billion. And we're sitting there with like 100 euros going, we're gonna cut through with this time, right? And here's the other thing. You can't buy ads on Netflix. So this year, we've got Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out. It costs $2 billion to make. $2.2 billion. It's the biggest entertainment project in the history of mankind, right? Now, when it comes out, they estimate that literally for about 6 months before, 14% of Gen Z's time globally will be spent in that game. Now, let me ask you, how do you buy an ad in that? You can't. How do you buy an ad inside the $21 billion worth of content that Netflix is going to spend? You fucking can't. And that's the same with Apple Plus, same with Prime TV, same with all of them. So more and more of human beings' time is taken up behind a paywall that you cannot buy ads in. And people are literally willing on YouTube or Spotify to say $7.99 a month to get no ads. Yeah, definitely. I want to go straight to the internet, skip the internet, right? So just randomly, coming back to this, because I love this, right? Imagine now you said, we're going to make a massive deal of the fact that we're constantly transforming our people. In an age of AI, when everyone's zigging this way and going, it's all about AI and better AI and blah, 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 it would be it would be a swagger move to be like, yeah, we're the best at AI. But we don't even talk about that. We're zigging and talking about the insane amount of training that our people have. Because it's a service business, right? So if you're a product business, fine, talk about AI all day. But if you're a service business, talk about fucking human beings. Until there's such time that the robots take that as well. But we've got a while, right? So now imagine, hypothetically, that there is this equity pillar of transformational thinking and transformational upskilling within your organization, which it sounds like it is. Now, let's move over to a group of people who are all about constantly upgrading the human operating system which they've been given. This is random. I'm doing this randomly, right? Can you imagine, my team has loads of technology that actually maps all the different networks of the internet, right? If you literally, it's like showing someone to themselves. When you say, give me your brand equity, put it into a machine, all these communities get spat out that are like, oh yeah, that community, that's pretty similar to that. Or your equity that you talk about this, same thing. Then you're in the internet, right? Now, next move. I've been talking about this difference between communicating and contributing. The shit thing to do would be, for you guys, okay, now we're going to make an ad with Simon Sinek in it where he says, Hewlett-Packard, they're the best, right? You know what I mean, right? Because that's what people do then. Then they go, okay, there's an insight here. Oh my God, there's a real community. It's growing. It's kind of the same type of people we're speaking to. They would love to hear a message about the fact that, yeah, AI is amazing, but you know what's more important? Upgrading the human operating system, which is why we're all here today, right? So now the question is, how do you contribute? And I'm going to show you some examples about what I mean here. So I'm not going to bother with all this. This is all stuff to do with me, whatever. So anyway, whatever. Okay, so look. This is the biggest problem and solution in business on one page, okay? Oh, fuck me. Forget the graphics. This is the brief for the new product. This is the brief for the new marketing campaign, right? It talks about all those things at the bottom. And yet human beings in the internet are finding each other through passions, values. Do you see what I mean, right? So meanwhile, boardrooms are going one way and the world is going another. You see? And you can see why we're fucked, right? So this is the type of marketing you get. Just going to talk about marketing for a second. This is the type of marketing you get when you think that way, right? This is Harvard. This woman is looking to the future. What the fuck? This is P&G. This woman has died in the shower, but she doesn't know it. This man is very much alive. And then this one is my favorite. This is the state of California. I mean, only the Americans could come up with this shit. So after this is unbelievable. After the COVID situation, the state of California wanted to get young people to take the vaccine, right? So they created this character called Sussy. And Sussy was supposed to look like a drop of the vaccine, right? He was supposed to look like a drop of the vaccine. So they sent Sussy into all these schools. Look at this kid. And Sussy's like in the schools, like, don't be afraid, I'm just a little drop of vaccine, right? Until somebody said, guys, I think Sussy's from the fucking Ku Klux Klan, right? So anyway, you get the idea. And so this is why, I mean, coming back to business, this is why marketing effectiveness is going down. I'll be at Cannes this year again. I'm a judge on one of the things. Like, it's going down. Why? Because despite the fact that the world has completely and utterly reformulated itself on the internet, according to these actual networks, interconnected set of networks, the clue's in the name, despite that, every single brand brief begins with a country, a fucking demographic, and a high net worths or low net worths, and that's our problem, right? So, and just to point out why is this so important right now, right? I'm not going to show you this. I'm going to show you this later. Okay, I'm going to show it to you. Have a look at this.
Have you ever stopped and observed the spectacle of the arrival hall? Look at the faces of the people waiting. Do they wonder if anything changed while we were gone? What did we bring back? Did we find what we were looking for? Was the world different than we thought? Was there a realization at the end of our journey?
I wish I had more time to show that to you. So that was £50,000, 50,000 euros. SAS, Norwegian and Swedish airline came to us. They were like, how do we do something that's a little bit more than just a communication? We were like, well, can we just literally film the arrival hall for 2 days? That's it. They were like, sure, okay. We literally took real life footage. These are not actors, right? Real life footage of people arriving home. That's it. And the point was so deep, actually, which is that I live in Dubai, right? And I live there, frankly, for tax reasons, right? Now, if I think that by living in Dubai, I don't have to pay an enormous emotional and spiritual cost, I am completely naive. Because the emotional and the spiritual cost of living far away from all the people that you love is fucking huge, right? And think about how many of us now, with the world as the way it is and the economy the way it is, have had to go somewhere else in order to make more money. But guess what we've traded? Every single generation of your family before this, before your parents, lived within 10, 15 minutes of one another. You literally would personally know every single auntie and uncle and cousin, and you would have a fucking huge network. And now, because of money and because of the way the modern world is, we've all moved somewhere new. All of us. We're all living outside of the initial tribe. The initial tribe we were born into. We've all said, I love this, but I need to go and make money somewhere. And that is why we are desperately seeking to form new tribes. Where? On the fucking internet. Because just finding in a Reddit comment that somebody feels the same as you is a really poor substitute, but it is at least something. And so this is why this economics will keep growing and growing and growing and growing. In the old days, I mean, does anyone's dad love Pink Floyd? My dad loves Pink Floyd. Okay. Do you know why your dad loves Pink Floyd? Because there was fucking 12 bands in the whole world when your dad first found Pink Floyd. Okay? And I love Pink Floyd. I fucking love them, right? But this is a fact. There was 5 channels on TV. Okay? There was literally, it was completely different world. That's why everybody's dad loves the Rolling Stones and Pink Floyd and Bruce Springsteen, because the whole fucking world was just that. Okay? Now the economics have completely shifted, which is that you can be into, I go to Sunwaves Festival on the Black Sea, right, a couple of years at a time. I'm into some hardcore Romanian techno shit that my mum and dad have never heard of and my kids would hate. I don't have kids, but imagine if I had them, right? And that's because whatever you're into, you can find that community. So do you see the economics of this? In the old days, you could literally go for this. You went for the hit, right? It was a blockbuster. And what we're still doing in the boardroom is trying to get the mass market, when we're completely and utterly ignoring these massive markets that are down here. And they are massive. And I'm just going to show you, because I've got to go now. I'm not going to show you that. Blah, 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 get through it. Okay, cool. So, Lululemon came to me and my team and they said, this is actually quite fun. Lululemon came and they were like, we're not cool to Gen Z anymore. So think about what you guys did, yeah? Exactly, I'm going to do this exactly the same, but this time we used AI to actually get the mathematical networks that were correct, okay? The pitch was, guess what? The same fucking pitch, right? As always. We need to be cooler with Gen Z. Okay. So, this was their segmentation. Now, bear in mind, all strategy in business, all strategy is based on segmentation, right? Because I'm not a strategist, but I kind of ended up being a strategist because I would say to the strategist would come in and be like, I'm a strategist, I'm really clever, and da-da-da. I'd be like, no, you are really, really clever. If you are addressing mums, you are doing an incredible job considering the fact that you've started in such a fucking useless place, right? And so my thing to strategists was, I can destroy your strategy instantly by thinking about the world as a bunch of networks. And the networks are the strategy. That is what it is. The idea of seeing a network, having enough compassion to realize what that network really needs. For example, with Hewlett-Packard, sending that message right now and actually activating in a way that allowed people to upskill themselves by being customers, not just by being employees, right, would be a massive contribution to a real-life network. Right? And then you can buy all the media you want. And if anyone's read Byron Sharp, which is the book How Brands Grow, it's very simple. He says, marketing and all of the game that we're playing is just reach and frequency and efficient CPM to keep ideas salient and top of mind. But what he doesn't ever talk about is what is a memory structure that you would want to do that with. So he's like, keep the idea top of mind, keep the idea top of mind. But when you say to him, Byron, what idea would be a useful idea to keep top of mind? He's like, oh, that's up to you. So what people have interpreted that as is, right, whatever it is, it could be the biggest piece of shit ever, but as long as we keep buying media behind it and keep it popping, eventually something good will happen. And it very rarely ever happens, right? So let me show you just quickly, then I'll finish. Lululemon came to us. Their first community was, this is unbelievable, Lululemon fans, mums, men. All men. Can you imagine building a strategy based on men? Like, you could be doing fucking ayahuasca, communicating with fucking the dead spirit of Albert Einstein, and you would still fuck it up. Because it's impossible to take that nosedive and turn it into a loop-the-loop. It's just impossible. And that's why we're so tired. Because we're like, what do men need? What are the unmet needs of men? And whatever anyone says is true and also false. Men need more time alone, and men need more time with their families. Okay, that's a paradox. That doesn't help us, you see? So whatever you can, if you're looking at a segment and you can say one thing about that segment and also the opposite thing, it's a fucking decoy. It's designed to fuck with your happiness, okay? It's a trick. It's like the devil himself is pulling a trick on you. So anytime you're looking at a segmentation and that segmentation allows you to say two completely opposing things, throw it in the fucking bin, get a priest to exercise it, set it on fire, get rid of it. Okay? Instead, look at this. What the fuck is going on here? Older people. Just older people. Because you hear it all the time, right? We want to get more men into the brand. We want to get more older people into the brand. Okay, well, that's not going to help. So we came back to them and we said, what about this? What about if you, because the thing about Lululemon was that it had become a bit, how do I say this? It had become a bit of a Karen brand. Do you know what I mean by that? It was kind of like yummy mummy who hasn't worked for 30 years, whose like husband works on Wall Street and is walking around and is going for lunch with the ladies after yoga in the mornings. And she's like, no, can you send that wine back? That's the one that we had last time. No, we don't want that wine, right? And so, and by the way, the ladies who ran the brand, who were fucking amazing, by the way, they were playing that same game as well. Like, I always think that most brands, because of their segmentation, I always ask myself, could you do a Saturday Night Live comedy sketch about this? And if you could, you're in trouble, right? And Lululemon had got to the point where it was like, you could literally do a Saturday Night Live comedy sketch about what a Lululemon person was like, right? And so Gen Z were calling bullshit. They were like, fuck this, white women are killing yoga, right? There was literally a podcast called White Women Killed Yoga. So we did this workshop, right, which is part one of this step. You know, we were talking earlier on about the equity pillars, right? I know I'm just ripping it out now because I haven't got time. But what we do is a workshop, a one-day workshop where we it's like torture testing your equity. So that you can stand up, you can walk out of that room that day and say, you know what? These guys might do this, and these guys might do this, and these guys might do this, but nobody does what we do here. This one thing. So Lululemon's competition was Nike and Adidas and Sweaty Betty, right? So anyway, we're sitting in the workshop. I know fuck all about yoga. Nothing, as you can tell, right? And I say to the CMO, who's a really smart lady, but she's stuck in her world of like downward facing dog and all this kind of stuff, right? And I say, can I ask you an honest question? Is yoga just stretching? And she says, I'm offended by that question. And I say, go on, enlighten me. And she proceeds to genuinely talk for about 10 minutes, and tears start coming in her eyes as she describes this tradition that's lasted for about 9,500 years that began with these tablets that were written by these rishis who meditated in India. Like, I mean, we're talking 5,000 years before the first testament of the Bible, right? And I'm like, what? I had no fucking idea. Because my understanding because of the way Lululemon's been playing with yoga is it makes it look like fit girls on Instagram to me, right? Which is why their problem with getting men and older people, right? So what they had done is they had boxed themselves into the smallest possible version of what yoga actually is. So that most people thought, oh, yoga's just stretching. And of course they found it difficult to recruit new people based on that. So we came back to them and said, hip hop, arts and crafts, adrenaline, live music, nightlife, sport and training. That's how you get Gen Z. Now, you're going to be asking, how the hell did you take the equity pillars of Lululemon and get these guys, right? Because bear in mind, one of the big problems was they needed to be less white middle class, upper middle class, right? So going after hip hop, you're like, how the fuck does Lululemon go after hip hop? Like, that doesn't seem to make sense, right? But here's where AI comes in, and I'm lucky to have an amazing team that does this shit. One of the main principles of yoga, real yoga, is breathing and flow. Breathing and flow in yoga, the breath isn't just about like being calm. It is literally a fucking oscillating communication device with the divine. When you breathe in, you receive communication from the divine. When you breathe out, you let go of that which you do not need. Breathing isn't just relaxing in yoga. It is literally turning your mind to a frequency where God can fucking talk to you. Right? Now, when you start thinking about that, you're like, what the fuck? And we've been sitting here competing with Adidas and Nike? We are fucking way better than them. And so I said to them, once it clicked with me what yoga actually is, I was like, fuck this. We are now the Nike of the spirit. Right? Because human beings are desperate for this. They're desperate for it. We just got to show them what it means. So if you listen across all these networks that I told you about, in the internet, not in the fucking advertising systems, because that's just a big money drain. All those people that help you spend your money on the internet, give it 2 months, tell them all to fuck off, build something that's worth building in the internet, and then you can tell them to come back after that and buy all the media. So breathing and flow is also semantically, when we listen to all these networks, you know, we heard scuba divers also talking about breathing and flow or similar words, right? And AI is able to do this. But then we're like, scuba diving, it's a bit white middle class again. It's not really going to help us. But when I found that hundreds of thousands of comments a day mention words that are pretty much similar to breathing and flow within the hip hop community, I was like, motherfucker, this is it. And so, and I'm sure I can't get away with this, but just so you know, if you say a rapper is sick, if the rapper's amazing, it's because they've got sick flow. Right? If you're Busta Rhymes and you can do 249 words a minute in a rap, you've got some serious yoga skills. Right? Meditation. So in young people, in Gen Z, there was this massive explosion of arts and crafts. And here's the thing. If you're knitting your own jumper, generally, it is not because you can't afford to buy a jumper. It is because you love the physical meditation of knitting. And that's fucking yoga. You follow me? So all we did was just show that all of the equity principles, exactly like I was doing there with you saying one of our equity pillars is that we're constantly transforming the brand, but most of all, we're transforming the human beings that are the service layer of that brand. So you're dealing with people who are fucking next level because we've invested in them, right? And how that connects with the Simon Sinek community. I'm not saying it's perfect, but you can already see, completely randomly, that there are communities out there that maybe you should be paying a lot of attention to, right? And so, letting go, I'm into, as I told you, I'm a midlife ex-raver. So people who go raving, it's not just about drugs, okay? There's other things about it as well. I'm the kind of person that if I go to Fabric nightclub in London and I go on the dance floor and someone comes, literally, I'm not joking, the most gorgeous girl in the world could come over and start trying to speak to me while I'm dancing to a DJ that I like, and I'd be like, let's talk later, yeah? Because for me, that is letting go. My letting go, because I'm ADHD, is just listening to the repetition of a beat that goes gum, bum, 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 bum. And my mum and dad rightly say, why do you listen to this music? It doesn't do anything. But you know what the yoga word for that shit is? Mantra. Something that spins again and again and again and again and again and again and cleans your fucking mind. It's called mantra. So we were able to go into the dance music community and go, oh, you love repetition, do you? Yeah, that's fucking yoga. You get me? Final one, we were, you know, the UFC thing was exploding at this point. And so we were able to go into that and be like, well, look, guys, people who are doing martial arts, they're not doing it to kick the shit out of each other. Not really. It's actually about protecting people, right? It's about self-defense. It's about defending people you love. It's about non-violence. So the principles of yoga that we got out the first workshop were then able to map to real-life communities. And I'm going to show you quickly, and then I better go because they're going to literally sniper me off the stage. So the platform was called This Is Yoga. And look, it was good. We won like 7 Cannes Lions. Not that that really matters. But what really matters is we doubled the share price of the brand. And do you know why? Because when you tell, I'm a VC now. I don't work in marketing anymore, which is why I love doing stuff like this, because it reminds me, scratches the itch of what I used to do. I've still got a team that does this stuff. But in the VC world, when you speak to, really, you're only ever really communicating with Wall Street, frankly. Right? You're trying to get new people in, but all of that is to show Wall Street and the economic markets that you've got growth, and so your share price goes up, right? So what we were able to do with the communication to Wall Street was, oh, guys, look, we've only used 10 communities, and there are like hundreds of thousands left. And so Wall Street was like, you've doubled the size of the sales, and you've only used 10 of hundreds of thousands of potential communities? Oh, shit. So let me show you the work. This is yoga. The idea is whatever you're into, you'll be surprised. It kind of could be very yoga. And just quickly, I live in the grimiest area of London, Shoreditch. And literally, when we went to the ladies at Lululemon, we were like, oh yeah, we were talking about places like Shoreditch, East London, and the areas like, the areas in New York that were coming up, and they were like, oh, isn't it a bit dangerous there? Right? Because they had boxed themselves into this white middle class thinking that they didn't even know that there was anywhere apart from West London. They were like, there's an East London as well? What is it? What's it dangerous? Right? So this is P Money, who's the fastest rapper in the UK, talking in the long form thing. He's talking about the practice of breathing and how he couldn't do it if it wasn't for breathing. And it was his mum that taught him breathing, pranayama, which is a form of breathing in yoga. And it was his learning of pranayama that allowed him to become the sickest rapper in Europe. Right? So I'm just going to finish with this. So, yeah. Anyway, what was interesting about this is it didn't get into the marketing press. It got into the press. You see what I mean? It's kind of the same. The internet and the marketing press are kind of the same. No disrespect, but it's like if Campaign magazine says, oh my God, it's like, yeah, you're not in culture. You're just in the world of marketing, right? What you want is actual New York Times to be writing about it, right? And we literally doubled the stock price. right? So here's the crazy paradox, because the question I'm going to get all day long today, and it's a great question, is, yeah, but doesn't it feel a bit niche? I don't know if I could convince my CEO to get rid of these demographics that are extremely broad, but extremely thin and extremely shallow. I don't know if we could convince him to do it. And that's why I say I'll literally do one so we can come back next year and go, this is how it fucking works, right? And I think this job, this approach, is the best job in the world. And I know that we are genuinely all exhausted. Like, all of us are exhausted. And I'll just finish with this. Human beings, we're pretty simple, really. And I think marketing people and people who work in our space that come to an event like this, if you come to an event like this, trust me on this, you have more intelligence, you have more emotional intelligence. I would even say after that, you have more spiritual intelligence than probably most of the people you know. And you should not suffer because of that. That should be your fucking chariot that drives you to unbelievable success. And the reason why having a lot of emotional intelligence, having a lot of spiritual intelligence, and having a lot of intelligence is exhausting in marketing right now is because you know that what you're doing is trying to fight this massive dragon of attention, Netflix, Grand Theft Auto, all this stuff. You're fighting it with a fucking blunt spoon. And I swear to God, just once, try and see what would happen if you said, I'm not going to try and communicate. I'm going to try and make a contribution to just one community. Watch what happens. Watch what the network effect in Silicon Valley. I'm a VC in Silicon Valley now. Literally, all I'm looking for is the network effect. I'm looking for what can be achieved without spending $1 on paid media. And here's the point. I'm not saying, I promise you, I'm really not saying that you don't buy paid media after this. You do, of course you do. But so what you already do, you still do. But there are about 9 steps before you do it. That's the difference. Right now we go, okay, let's buy some paid media. Now what are we going to put in the paid media? That's how crazy it is, right? If you start with your equity pillars, like just get 3, for example. Then you do community mapping. You don't have to do this through AI. It is obviously better, but you can use your intellect, right? If you go, okay, what 3 communities in the world would give a fuck about the fact that we have this truth, and this truth? And you don't have to have, every community doesn't have to apply to each equity pillar. You can be like, as you can see, meditation, physical meditation could be one, letting go and the dance floor could be another. But you just make use of your equity. Because what I've seen every single time is that brands talk about their equity and then it just kind of stays on a PowerPoint. It never really comes into the world. It never does anything, right? Like for Gillette, they were desperately trying to rebrand, right? Because they were kind of caught in this world of like, the best a man can get, but you know, that kind of stuff. And it was a bit old school. And so we listened, there used to be a song for Gillette that was like, I'm a terrible singer, but it's like, father to son, it's what we've always done, Gillette, right? So we were like, okay, that's one piece of equity, father to son. Father to son. That's fucking equity. That's been in our brand. If we're Gillette, that's been in our brand for 35 years. Father to son. So we said, okay, the brief was show masculinity. This was just after Harvey Weinstein, by the way. Show masculinity in a way that shows a different side than the media is currently playing. Which you'll be surprised to know, not everyone is a Harvey Weinstein, right? I mean, thank God. So we were like, how do we show that men aren't these fucking dicks? And also, how do we move away from like fighter plane, you know, sculpting, you know, all that kind of bullshit 80s Wall Street stuff. So just that line in the workshop, when we figured out father to son, that's a fucking equity pillar. So then we went out and we tried to find what the opposite of that would be. What would son to father be? And we realized there's a community just in the US of 22 million people who are men who are caregivers for an elder or somebody else. Men who literally, not necessarily for a job, but look after their father who's had a stroke, or look after their mother who's got cancer, or look after, and this is there. And right in the middle of the media firestorm that was going on, when everyone was zigging on men, which is fair enough, by the way, we zagged the other way. We made a contribution, right? We said, no, there are fucking millions of men out there who are fucking looking after someone who's fucking dying. And we said it boldly, because it's a fact. Because the equity pillar was true, so you can't fuck with us on that. And then the community is true, so you can't fuck with us on that. So you can see the devil's gonna have a real hard time getting in here. Because it's true, 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 true. And once you've added up 9 truths, buy some paid media. Do you see what I'm saying, right? So the contribution we made was we went back to the, because what they wanted to do then was make an ad, right? Fair enough, I get it. I get the instinct to make an ad. But we were like, no, make a contribution. So with the Gillette team, we sat and we designed with that community. This is the thing. These communities are like, who likes Game of Thrones, for example, or you did like it before the last season? How did you find out about watching Game of Thrones? It wasn't through a fucking advert, was it? It was someone saying, oh, you've got to watch Game of Thrones, right? We all became that person, didn't we? First of all, we'd be like, I haven't got time for that, I haven't got time for that. Then a couple of months later, you'd be like to someone else, you have to watch it, right? So the power of the network effect, you see? So what we said was, we went to the Gillette team and we said, we're gonna work in a community with these caregivers. So we brought 120 caregivers into the thing, right? And we said, help us design something that will actually help you. And no shit, straight off the cuff, people were like, it's a fucking nightmare to shave my father who's had a stroke. Because every single razor has been designed for someone shaving themselves. No razor has ever been designed for shaving someone else. So we created the Trello razor. It sold out in 72 hours. The campaign won fucking 10 Cannes Lions. It's easy. Start with an equity pillar that's true, move to a community that's real, make a contribution that's not a fucking joke. No communication yet. Do you notice? Not even one piece of communication has happened. Take what you did and communicate about that. And that is how you get market share. I've got to go now. I love you so much. I hope that was useful. I'll see you later on. Cheers.
Just a second, Alex. That was some sick flow on your
Exactly.
presentation. Thank you very much
you.
for your presentation. Just to hurry up, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Only a couple of questions
Sure.
for you. You've said in your presentation that if you are a business that it's in the service area,
Yeah.
you have to talk to the people. Can you elaborate a bit on that? How can these people that maybe have businesses in this field can do that effectively?
Okay. My friend here said that her hero,
She's taking notes.
she's taking notes, her hero was Mother Teresa, right? Was it Mother Teresa? Okay. Incredible choice. What is it that makes Mother Teresa a hero? She was a higher consciousness. You and me are going to get along. She was a higher consciousness. What makes something a higher consciousness? It's simple. No matter what religion you subscribe to, and even if you're not religious, you cannot defy the truth of what I'm about to say. There are 2 human beings on planet Earth. There's just 2 types, right? There's the people who put the tray back where it should go after they get off the fucking airport thing, and people who walk away. Okay? That's it. They're the only 2 types of human beings that there are on planet Earth. And what does that mean? What do I really mean by that? It's a metaphor. The people who put the tray back, right, have, generally speaking, a concept that they are part of a network. They don't see themselves as a node moving around the world. They see that their node is connected to a larger network, even if they can't see it. You see? By the way, this is why women are generally way happier than men. Men are the ultimate, take this the right way, men are the ultimate fucking nodes. It's because of our brain chemistry. We're literally built to be like, it's me, I'm a lone wolf. No, I don't need any help. I don't need any friends, right? And women are like, well, you could work together with others, right? So this is how it is. It comes down to witnessing with compassion. If I see that you love Simon Sinek, and I spend time with you and the community of people that love what those types of leaders have to say. You mentioned a couple of times that he has a big heart. It's not just that he has a big brain, right? It's like it's the optimism, the positiveness. Here's the secret to this. Whatever anybody loves isn't their hobby, it's their passion. And let's go back to Jesus, right? The passion of the Christ, the story, the movie, whatever you want to call it, isn't a fucking story about Jesus' hobbies, right? It's a story about his passion. Because the Latin word passion is it means the way you deal with the pain of your existence. That's what passion is. So when someone asks what someone's passion is, we wouldn't have to have too many drinks, I don't think, to realize that someone who talks about the fact that Simon Sinek is positive, and take this the right way, might have some factors in her life that are negative and she needs to counteract them with her passion. You see? Whatever you are into, trust me on this, it ain't your fucking hobby. It's the way you deal with the pain of your existence. And once you realize that all these niches, all these communities that are out there are dealing with the pain of their unique existence, you start realizing why going through that door makes a fucking hell of a lot of sense and why you can make a true contribution to that. Because your question is, oh, Mark, you like electronic music. Why do you like electronic? Well, because I've got an ADHD brain and I need that fucking repetition to clean it out. Whoa, now I get it. That's the difference between saying that's Mark's hobby and Mark's passion. So coming back to answer your question, the basic principle is, whatever you're doing, try and see whatever the surface level answer is, realize that that is a response to some seriously unmet needs. And that unmet need is where you contribute. You see? While everyone else is just going, oh, up here, you go, I see you now. I see that you've got an unmet need. Given the fact that your passion is this, these are your unmet needs. And you have to ask people about this, right? But once you realize that a community has an unmet need, and then you realize that your equity pillar, just one of them, might literally be the thing that can help solve it, that's it.
There are situations where businesses and countries, maybe like Romania, feel like they have a lot to offer, but they somehow, some way, they don't manage to deliver what they dream they can offer. How can we do that as a business and maybe as a country?
Oh, love that. Okay, I'm going to tell you straight. I go all around the world. Coming to Romania is a fucking pleasure. It really is, because you guys truly are more open-hearted, more... You don't have a know-it-all mentality, even though you do know more than you think. You have a very humble, we want to learn, you're hungry to learn, right? I'm telling you now, it's a totally different vibe. This would be what I would say. For you guys in this part of the world and in Romania, don't play by the fucking rules of the other guys. Play by your own rules. Like, if you think about anything that ever happened, like how did Hollywood become Hollywood? How did any place become known for something? It just said, we're not going to play by the same playbook. Put it in the bin. So I'm begging you guys, experiment with a new playbook, right? And I would say this, just start, and I think it's in you anyway. I hate to say this, but if I said everything I just said in Germany, they'd be like, I don't understand, right? They just wouldn't get it, right? You guys get it. It's in you. It's in your fucking heart to get what I'm saying. Just start with the truth about who you are as a brand, what that brand is. Then go out there in the world and do the work of witnessing someone and witnessing the community network that they're part of. Then ask compassionately, What the fuck do these people need? And you will find there is no one on earth that doesn't have a lot of unmet needs. No one. Like, I used to work with massive celebrities. I haven't even talked about this, yeah? I worked with Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga's got sciatica in her back. She's in fucking agony every day. If someone could help her with that, she would do anything. Like, literally, you will never meet a human being and you will never meet a community that doesn't have a fucking long list of deeply unmet needs. And if you start realizing, I'll just finish with this. I did a workshop years ago at Disney, right? I spent a week before the workshop doing the Disney Imagineering course. Fucking mind-blowing. The storytelling principles of Disney. In storytelling in Disney, the hero or the heroine cannot know that they are a hero or a heroine at the beginning of the story. Luke Skywalker's just a farmer, right? Everybody, and I feel like everybody I meet and every brand I meet is the same. They don't know that they're the hero yet. How does the hero or the heroine find this thing inside them that they always had, but they never knew?
Thank you.
They find it out by meeting the community that needs them. They meet the community that needs exactly that, and it activates. And that's all you got to do. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.